The Ukrainian parliament legislated for full membership in NATO and the European Union back in 2019. In 2020, the alliance granted Kyiv the status of a partner with enhanced capabilities, and after the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian army on September 30, 2022, President Volodymyr Zelensky signed an application to join NATO on an accelerated pace. The Ukrainian armed forces proved on the battlefield that the country not only has the right to membership in the alliance, but will also become a guarantor of peace in Europe. Therefore, Kyiv is waiting for clear decisions from the allies, the office of the president of Ukraine said.
I think the summit deserves to have a strong decision, including on Ukraine, because, if you're having a lack of strong decisions on Ukraine, the summit will be useless. Any decision by NATO takes consensus, and we all know this, and we do understand that maybe this time consensus will be formed again on the last day before the summit. Igor Zhovkva, deputy head of the office of the president of Ukraine, in an interview with Reuters.
France is among the partners actively urging the NATO leadership to give Ukraine the green light. In a press statement after talks with the Alliance Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg, President Macron emphasized support for the prospect of Ukraine joining NATO.
Our support for Ukraine remains and will remain constant, and we will continue to mobilize to respond to its urgent needs and carry the message of our determination to be on the side of the Ukrainians for the long term. In Washington, we must send a strong message about Ukraine's progress toward Euro-Atlantic integration and toward the North Atlantic Alliance, where it belongs, and about Ukraine's contribution to Euro-Atlantic security.
However, no specific conditions for Ukraine's accession to NATO have been announced so far. At the same time, the alliance guarantees continued military assistance to Kyiv. In particular, NATO is preparing to take over the responsibility for coordinating long-term military support from the Ukrainian Defense Contact Group in Ramstein format. After a meeting with the alliance's foreign ministers, Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg called on NATO countries to provide Ukraine with at least 40 billion euros in annual assistance.
At the summit in Washington, more support to Ukraine will be our most urgent task. Since Russia's full-scale invasion, allies have provided unprecedented support, but recent gaps and delays have led to real consequences on the battlefield. We must give Ukraine the predictability and accountability it needs to defend itself. So I expect that allies, when we meet at the summit, will agree for NATO to lead the coordination and provision of security assistance and training for Ukraine. And I have also proposed a long-term financial pledge for Ukraine.
Guarantees of long-term support for Kyiv are particularly important against the backdrop of the upcoming elections in France, the UK and the US. For example, in France, the elections will end on July 7th. In other words, Emmanuel Macron will come to the NATO anniversary summit in Washington knowing the outcome of the vote. In October, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte will take the post of Secretary-General of the alliance. His candidacy was approved by all 32 NATO members. The official announcement of the endorsement is expected to be made at the summit in Washington. A long-term and fundamental supporter of Ukraine, he will be the one to organize further military support for Kyiv. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Larisa Petruk, UATV News.